phase where if the batters start getting on top of you, it can be a flurry of runs into the lunch break as Booth runs in again to Slater. A little bit on the leg side and pushed into the onside. Another dot ball.
I have to make a confession. I don't know if I told you this before, but as soon as you knocked on the door, your little face peering through the window, I realised it was you. A song came into my head.
Does it have something to do with Ed Sheeran?
No.
Oh no.
No. Whenever I see you, whenever you're batting, I get a certain song. This is going to
be offensive, isn't it?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a bad pun involved in this?
No. Well, no.
Booth to Slater, wide of the stumps, and he has a bit of a push at it. Goes through to the keeper. A little bit loose from Slater on that point of view. Potentially a little bit of, don't know, feels like he needs to get on with things now.
So when South Africa were over here for that, was that 2022?
Yes.
Yeah, and went down to Canterbury for the Lions tour. Someone from the club down there had put out a sheet with phonetic pronunciations.
Booth in again to Slater, top of the stumps and defended back to the bowler.
Because everyone was getting them wrong, and
I might actually remember this.
Everyone was calling you Verreynne or something like that, Kyle Verreynne.
It's a very hard surname to get
yeah, and I actually made a video with your then captain Dean Elgar, where he went through all the pronunciations of everyone.
Booth into Slater again. Top of the stumps again, and Slater just keeps it nice and tidy, pushes it to extra cover, and we have the end of the, if my eyes don't deceive me, end of the 18th over. Knots off 48 for no loss. 54 minutes left in the session, if I'm not mistaken.
That's some good commentary there. Well done. That's good.
So I don't know how you guys do it all day long. I have to confess, I feel like I'm going to run out of things to say.
That's why we have to have a break, you see. See, when you're batting, nobody's in danger of getting bored. If we sit here and talk too long...
Is that good after 10 minutes I'm out and you can move on to the next?
But I will tell you this. So I have a way of those mental tricks to try and help you remember how to pronounce something, or word association. So for Kyle Verreynne, I decided the cadence was a bit like the Kinks' My Sharona. So...
Oh, my. Ed Barnard beginning a new over, bowling to Hamid, who'll guide this down towards third, who is quite wide. Taz Ali comes round to do the fielding, and they'll come back for two, and that brings up the 50 partnership for the first wicket for Nottinghamshire. Steady as they go, Hamid and Slater have got the scoreboard ticking over. 300, remember, is the target to secure the championship title. 50 without loss.
Beautiful. Music to my ears, that sentence there.
There you go.
Music. So if you think about it, if you think the Kinks, you know what I mean. You know
I've got no idea.
You have to sing it, yeah.
And
that just brings you to
Kyle Verreynne.
Okay.
The Knack. Oh, the Kinks. The Knack. That's okay. Sorry, it's old.
You might have just given me a new fine song.
May I describe this delivery as Barnard bowls and it just cuts in slightly, and Hamid is able to steer it towards mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Okay, so it was the Knack, it was the King. These are. It's a very old song.
I do see there's my name there with. Everyone's got their fielding positions, and next to mine, it's just hard to pronounce it, which is quite cool. Actually,
it's just every time I just did that word association.
Barnard again. In, clipped square by Hamid. Around comes long leg, and they'll take a single. 51 without loss.
But it just does mean, since then, so for the past 3 years, every time I've seen you come out to bat, or you've taken a catch, or whatever it is, I get that song stuck in my head. So
is there a music video associated with it? I might have to go look.
Oh, you need to. Yeah, it's a like classic.
Really?
It's very old.
Meanwhile, Gary on Twitter has written to Dave Bracegirdle, "You guys are under pressure. Kyle is brilliant." So there we go. So we now have a new commentator. And there's also a very important piece of business that I need to mention, which is, for those listening on Sport Extra, in the lunch interval, Kevin Howells will be talking to the chief executive of the PCA, Daryl Mitchell, about this week's vote. As Slater is back on strike, round the wicket comes Barnard, and that's going to be tickled fine for 4, down to long leg. He just bowled it across the body of Slater, and he clips it neatly through. He's to 21, 55 with that loss. So yes, Daryl Mitchell giving the PCA's view on the vote that did not necessarily go the way that they were hoping this week. The fact that 14 championship games are going to be retained for next year, and be very, very interested to get Daryl's take on it. Really will.
Are you guys allowed to speak about that in here? Or not really?
As next delivery is guided down towards third, there'll be a quick single. 56 without loss, slated to 22. Well, of course, we can talk about it.
We can talk about it. We can talk about anything.
It's the BBC. We love county cricket, but it's been an interesting week, hasn't it? Two years of debate ends up with no change.
It has. I've sort of followed it from the outside. It's been quite interesting to hear the things that are spoken about and then to see the outcome of the vote. So it's staying as is, if I'm not mistaken, which, interesting.
Barnard into complete his over, and he goes past the edge of Hamid. There's an appeal, but it's a strangled one. I think they know there wasn't quite a touch there. Alex Davis did throw the ball into the air, but at the end of the over, it's 56 without loss. One observation I would make is you could argue that 14 games isn't too many, but the way in which they're ordered, where you might play 4 weeks in succession or 5 weeks in succession, I think that is where there's a real issue, particularly for your seam bowlers. That's where it's relentless.
Wicket keepers.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you play a long innings in match and you're keeping wicket for 2 innings, that is brutal.
I know. Like I said, batting number 5, 6, 7, and then keeping, toughest part of the sport by a long way.
Well, it goes to what you were saying before about understanding the mental freshness as much a part of it as anything else. I think that's what the PCA was trying to put forward as their point of view. As we see Booth in for another over, angled across. He's coming over the wicket to the left-handed Slater. That's a go past.
It's very interesting. You're seeing it in I think most sports today. I mean, you see it a lot with football managers complaining about the schedule being jam-packed and them struggling to keep their full squads available. I think it's a very interesting time for not just cricket but all sports, with TV and fans wanting to have as much content as possible.
In comes Booth. Bowls to Slade, who has a flash at that one, and he's gone this time, has he? Yes, he has. He stood there for a while and looked at the umpire, but the finger was raised. And so Booth does get his man. The plan worked, angling the ball across Slater. He just had a little flash at that one, and he departs for a well-made 22. 49 balls, and Nottinghamshire lose their first wicket with 56 runs on the board. It was a definite plan to him, wasn't it?
Did feel like he was maybe just searching for one of those balls outside off stump there. I think it speaks to what we've been speaking about all morning, maybe a little bit of extra bounce on that length, and unfortunately just found wanting for.
And Booth is, of this Bears attack, he's the one who's going to hit the wicket hard. He's the one who's going to bowl that shorter length, bring a bit of hostility to it. He'll concede some runs as he's done, but it's risk of reward, isn't it? He gets the wicket and just opens up one end.
Yeah, fine balance for the batters also. I mean, you've got to stay nice and patient and respect the bowling, but I think as the way the game is, you've got to score runs on top of that. So it's just finding that balance about what ball to go for, what to let go, and I think unfortunately he's probably just picked the wrong one there.
Well, Freddie McCann is the new player to come to the crease, someone who takes almost as many catches behind the stumps as Kyle Verreynne does. He's like a magnet in there at second slip.
So I guess this is the moment that, Kyle, you may have to go and join your colleagues just to check in with him. It's been absolutely brilliant having you in here. It's been an absolute joy. It's not often we get a current international cricketer spending more than an hour with us, and you seem to have enjoyed it, so thanks ever so much for coming in.
No, this is a dream. I've been wanting to do something like this for ages, so...
Oh, well, we're going to have to get you up more often.
Thank you.
Sounds like there'll be future opportunities, which is always good, but thanks so much for popping in.
All the best for the rest of the day. Hopefully I can come back here tomorrow morning and we're still batting.
Oh, he's keen. We'll get him back in.
Cheers, guys.
Brilliant.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's a real treat. That's been a real treat for us this morning.
Thank you.
Cheers, Carl. Thank you very much. So, yeah, at least I didn't ask to feel his hand, Melinda.
Right. Well, I think that's normal. Here is a first ball for McCann from Booth, who's on the same plan because he's got another left-hander there. He's just pushing the ball across. That was indeed a real treat having Kyle Verreynne up here. He's one of a great example of what you often find with the South African cricketers, is they're just incredibly nice people. Here is Booth wheezing that ball past McCann. He's quite happy to leave that alone and have a little scratch of his guard.
They're like a more affable version of Australians, aren't they?
You noticed he said that he feels I like to have a bit of South African in me because I'm just part of I fit in so well over there.
Okay. You know not to call it a Barbie when you're out there?
Oh no, it's a bright. You heard me saying "Hey Becha" yesterday.
That was impressive.
As Booth is in. This time it's a tighter line and it's defended by McCann up to mid-off. No run.
And it was a South African who made the breakthrough while he was here, Michael Booth. I mean, next season he's not a South African, but this season he still is.
He's a child of the world, just like me.
And by the way, a hello to Ollie Hannon-Dolby, who's been watching on and listening in from home today.
Oh, HD.
Yeah.
Speaking of nice guys.
Oh, yeah. One of the best, although I have to work with him quite a bit, and that's a bit of a stretch.
He's fun on commentary too. As Booth is in, this time it's just on leg stump and turned away down through mid-wicket. They'll come through for a single that gets McCann off the mark. And Nottinghamshire now 457 for 1. The wicket falling in that over that of Ben Slater. So Michael Booth making the breakthrough, and I'm going to make like Kyle Verreynne and leave you two chaps for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mel. Thanks ever so much for looking after Kyle.
Do you do that when you have a guest in the box? Do you have to feel their hands? I've never I've never done that. I'm not sure I'd get away with it.
Can I feel the bony plates in your hand?
Yeah. That's a peculiarity, that is. Ethan Bamber's coming back on, Dave.
Is this my end or yours?
It's yours, folks. I'm going to carry on moving down the box.
Okie dokes. There is Ethan, who gave nothing away right at the start of the day. His 5-over spell only yielded 9 runs. Just the 4 seamers used so far by the Bears this morning. Notts 57 for 1 after 20. Left-handed Freddie McCann out there. Sabamba going round the wicket to McCann. First ball past the outside edge and through to the keeper. He actually put me right this morning, Freddie McCann, because all season I've been under the illusion that he wears 44 as a bit of an homage to Lewis Hamilton. No, not my thing at all, Dave. He said this morning when I eventually got round to asking him, he said Michael Lumb was my great hero when he was at Notts. He was number 45. So I always wanted his number, 57 for 1 this round the wicket, and pushed up to mid-on. But when he came into got into the system and was allocated a number, Lyndon James still had number 45, he said. So I had the closest to Michael Lumb's 44, and I've stuck with it.
I thought it was a tribute to Ant Boter's Warwickshire years, because I think he was 44.
Was he?
If I remember right. I don't know why I think he was 44, but I'm fairly convinced he was 44. What number would you wear, Dave? If you're given a free choice.
57 for 1, round the wicket, and this is pushed up to mid-off. I've no idea, but I wouldn't wear 13. I think that's a bold move from Gilchrist to move counties from Kent to Warwickshire and have 13. I played a little bit of football now and again, not at a very good level, but I had one game where I scored an own goal, missed a penalty and was sent off, and I realised I'd got number 13 on. It was one of those just grab a squad number type games, and from then on I thought, there is something in 13.
I hate to disabuse you of the notion, but I don't think it was the shirt number that caused you that problem.
No, just lack of ability. As an LBW shout here, umpire Saggers having a good look, or seems to be having a good look, but I don't think the decision's going to come now. 57 for 1. I've no idea really. I mean, I'm not. I'm a little bit superstitious in saluting magpies and not walking under ladders and all that sort of nonsense, but not when it comes to numbers.
In my basketball playing days, when they used to just stick to the numbers between 4 and 15, so you had to, those were the only numbers available. I used to like 12 or 14. I don't know quite why. It had to be an even number. Had to be an even number.
McCann has 1. Oh, he's bowling. He lost his middle stump. Super bit of bowling here from Ethan Bamber, and he's come back over, and that's the middle timber, I think, that's been knocked out of the ground clean from round the wicket. And Freddie McCann has gone for a single, and 1 brings 2 for the Bears here. Nottinghamshire 56 without loss. They're now 57 for 2. Freddie McCann bowled by Ethan Bamber for just a single.
No finer sight for a bowler. Bamber, who bowled pretty well in his first spell of 5 overs. He is very good round the wicket to a left-hander. And he's found the angle there, and middle stump cartwheels. That's an absolute beauty from him. And a reminder that this is not an easy surface to bat on. And Hamid and Slater were very, very watchful. As soon as Slater tried to get attacking, a false shot comes, and there McCann, not easy to get started.
And Ethan Bamber will think, well, I know how that feels, Freddie, because of course he got one like that first ball from Mo Abbas yesterday. He was mopped up when Mo got 2 in 2. New man is Joe Clark, on his way out to the middle. Said earlier in the game, these matches at the back end of the season, a real opportunity to sort of massage your figures, improve your figures if you can. Joe Clark, just 1 century this summer, would very much like to end on a bit of a high against a side that 2019 he ended the season. Everybody sort of remembers Dominic Sibley because he got a double 100 and 100 in that match. Warwickshire at the end of the season beating Nottinghamshire and got an England test place that winter. But in the same match, Joe Clark got a century in each innings. Here we are, Clark. 612 runs at 32. Well, he's better than that.
He's made a lot of runs against Warwickshire, particularly since he moved to Trent Bridge. An awful lot of runs against Warwickshire. Just say, it's out of character with the day, but we have a mahoosive grey cloud coming across. That is huge. That is huge.
It sort of sums the mood. We've lost the effervescent Kyle, and we've, from the Nottinghamshire perspective, lost 2 wickets as well. So a little bit of overcast cloud cover. Certainly won't go amiss as far as the Warwickshire seamers are concerned.
This is their little window of opportunity here now, having taken 2 in quick succession.
Clark on strike. Bamber over the wicket, and as ever, Joe Clark gets down the track, gets well out of his crease, looking to get that red ball run, as they used to call it with Kevin Peterson. He's a bit like that, likes to get forward and get his innings up and running, but doesn't, just turns it to mid-wicket. Successful over for Bamber. Look at his figures: 6 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 9. The other wicket taker, Michael Booth, 5 overs, 1 for 18. That's 57 for 2 after 21 here on 5 Sports Extra. We've got the pictures available on Trent Bridge Live, and we're also, as always, every single county championship game across both divisions as ever on the BBC Sport website and app.
Michael Booth, the man who made the first breakthrough, is going to continue at his 6th over. Hamid on 28. He's the prize wicket at the moment. Fast delivery, but he just turns it into the leg side up towards Gilchrist at mid-on, who's not the sort of fielder that's going to be able to put any pressure on that. The slip cord were hopeful for a moment, but it wasn't the case. Surrey, of course, still contenders to pip Notts for the title. It's an outside chance, and they are behind in their game against Hampshire. And Hampshire have now added 50 for the 7th wicket, so a bit of a recovery after an early flurry of wickets. They're 215 for 6, a lead of 68. Washington Sundar on 32 and James Fuller 16. So that's an interesting scenario. Chahar, the overseas spinner, hasn't taken a wicket there. And the other eye-catching score down in Division 2 is what's going on with the Kent-Derbyshire match. Derbyshire are going to break a lot of records the way things are going. Booth in, down the leg side. Clark tries to help it on, but gets nothing on it. Well taken by Alex Davis. But Derbyshire 508 for 2. And that partnership now has gone beyond the 350 mark. Madsen 198, Rees 192. That is extraordinary. Really extraordinary.
Filling the boots against bottom-placed Kent.
Yeah,
relegated last year and bottom of Division 2 this year.
In comes Booth once more. Clark gets nicely into line and steers it up to mid-on. Might as well mention a couple of other quick scores while we're doing it. In Division 1, Somerset 413 for 8 against Essex. They're looking to secure 3rd place. Lewis Goldsworthy is 90 not out. 3 wickets for Porter there. And Sussex 327 for 8, lead Worcestershire by 204. Simpson 110 not out, 2nd centurion of the innings. Tom Taylor's taken 4 wickets. Booth back of a length, guided into the covers by Clark, who's getting A nice sound on his bat. Now, Durham and Yorkshire could be a bit of a relegation decider. Yeah. Durham 346 all out. Yorkshire 11 for 1. Ben Verreynne has got the wicket of Finley Bean to get things going. Verreynne, after having made a century, he's been such a good county all-rounder, Ben Verreynne. He usually gives Warwickshire all sorts of problems in all formats. But what a good season he's having. Booth. Oh, inside edge from Clark. Squirts wide of leg stump. And he'll get a single. Fuller delivery there from Booth, but Clark is off the mark and knots to 59 for 2.
Simon Trafford, one of our photographers here at Trent Bridge, very much enjoyed the chat with Kyle. Says he remembers it because it rhymes with Macarena. Thank you very much, Simon.
I'm just imagining Simon doing the dance. Oh, Kyle Verreynne. Well, it would kind of work, wouldn't it? Booth to Hamid. Oh, and he plays and misses outside off stump. There's always something there for the bowlers on this surface. And for me, quite a bold decision by Notts to produce what is actually a result surface, I think, this week. It would have been ever so easy, in theory.
Roll it and roll it and roll it and roll it and roll it some more.
To have a feather bed here. Ollie Hannon Dolby suggested as much. We had a bit of an exchange on WhatsApp this morning. I think he would have expected it to be rather flatter than it is. But I think both teams have bowled pretty well on it as well.
Yeah. You're spot on there. Look here, Warwickshire didn't bring Alex Davis, or the skipper didn't bring himself up to the stumps for Joe Clark's first ball, but that's all it took in the previous over to see that Clark wants to get out of his crease and get down there to Ethan Bamber. So he's got the helmet on. Never easy for the slips, I think, this, as Clark deflects this down to long leg for a single. I think it's easy for the slips, is it, when the keeper stands up to the quicks? Especially first slip, you inevitably lose sight of it a little bit. But Clark off strike, so Alex Davis takes the helmet off and retreats to his normal position.
I presume it's Hayne, Yates and Young, the slips. It would be the general scheme of things. Yeah, it is. They haven't been called into play yet today. Alex Davis has one catch, and the other wicket was the sweetest of nuts from Ethan Bamber that took out a middle stump.
It's a lovely delivery. He's got Hamid back on strike. They're not skipper on 29. Ooh. Good delivery beats him there. Lovely to hear Kyle's thoughts on playing under Asib Hamid, and how he feels there's a few differences with the way he's done it in South Africa in the past, and has learnt a little bit from playing under somebody else. 60 for 2. Nice fella, isn't he, Verreynne?
Oh, that was good. Look, cricketers, so many of them are great like that.
Bamber in, and Hamid just plays inside the line. Lets it go through to the wicket keeper. Lunch, remember, 12:40 today. So we'll get very close to midday, and Richard and I will be doing our respective radio updates in a minute or two. Got that filthy black cloud still lingering, but there's enough blue sky and white Simpsons fluffy clouds around it not to be seriously concerned, as the next delivery is again left alone by the patient Hamid, who's now faced 74 deliveries for his unbeaten 29. Ben Slater out when the score was 56 for 1, and Freddie McCann soon followed, 57 for 2. So Clark in alongside Hamid. Jack Haynes is listed at 5, and then Kyle Verreynne, not 60 for 2. Bamber bowls. Hamid solidly behind it. Just runs it down into the gully, and there's no run. Crowd is seemingly a little larger than yesterday, I fancy. It was a little bit dismal and gloomy, and of course the way the first day panned out, and hopefully the media and everybody seeing and realising and presenting the fact that Notts potentially, if they get 300 runs today, could be there, as perhaps brought one or two more along today to watch it, as Hamid turns this onto the leg side, just to the right of the square leg umpire Michael Goff, and he'll get a single. And he'll keep strike. 61 for 2. Hamid has 30, Clark has 2. So seemingly a larger crowd, because of course there are pockets that we can't see. We can't see downstairs in the Radcliffe Road stand, and have to almost lean out of the window to see how many are here on the middle deck of the Radcliffe Road stand. Just in between overs, a huge thanks to all our camera crews over the season that have worked here at Trent Bridge, bringing you the pictures. John O, Lewis, Spence and Ella on duty today, and our good friend Wilson, the static camera at the far end. Thanks very much for all your work this season, and to all the others that have come along and helped out from time to time, as Gilchrist back into the attack, and this is pushed into the offside. Amongst a myriad of stats that we had for this game, it's not like he certainly won't be aware, but those 2 runs mean that Joe Clark has scored exactly 3,000 first-class runs here at Trent Bridge. Some of them, of course, in his time as a Worcestershire player, but Joe Clark, 3,000 first-class runs now here at Trent Bridge. Ben Slater's still a little shy of 1,000 as Gilchrist bowls. This is pushed into the offside in the season. He went into today's match on 963 for the season, out for 22, so he's still 15 short. So he'll be hoping Notts get a second innings at some point in the game and he can get 15 runs, because all the top order batters up and down the country do have that template of 1,000 runs for the season as their goal. Down the leg side, this one drifts from Nathan Gilchrist, who, like Bamber, has been really miserly. I think Mel a time or two yesterday used the word parsimonious. It's not one I'd use, but you get the drift. He's not giving anything away. We're into the midday news on BBC Radio Nottingham, so we'll be speaking to those in a split second. 61 for 2 Notts. Hamid lets this next delivery go through into the gloves of Alex Davis. Yes, they've just run into a little bit of hopefully a momentary hiccup. They've lost 2 wickets in quick succession. They're currently 61 for 2. As you say, 300 if they can get there within 110 overs. That will secure the county championship, whatever happens. But Ben Slater's gone for 22. Freddie McCann only made a single today, followed him swiftly back. Hamid is 30 not out. Clark 2. Notts 61 for 2. The one delivery I didn't describe whilst we were doing that quick update for radio listeners was blocked by the Notts captain. So there's 1 ball left in this over. Gilchrist 6th. Bowls it now to the right-hander, and it was just drifting in towards middle and leg, so Hamid can get forward, and like he did at the end of the last over, can just deflect it away behind square on the leg side for another single, and he'll keep strike. In fact, Joe Clark got down to the other end and was taking his stance at the far. He must have known it was the end of the over, but just wanted to have a little look and a little feel what it would be like to face the bowling from that end. That'll have to wait for a moment. 62 for 2. Hamid is very much in control of things out there at the moment. He's 31 not out, having faced 81 balls this morning. Still going to be Bamber for the Bears. Bowls, and Hamid with the outside of his bat gets a 4 down to 3rd. Seen him do that enough times over the 5 years he's been with Notts to know that that wasn't thickish outside edge. That was deliberately run away by the Nottinghamshire skipper, who moves on to 35. 66 for 2. And Bamber, who's been absolutely miserly this morning, goes for 4 runs. Very much enjoyed the company of Kyle Verreynne over the last hour or so, and playing hot seats at the moment as this one's pushed into the offside by Hamid, and it will go to the fence away for 4, because Kyle has been replaced here alongside me by Brett Hutton of the Nottinghamshire seam bowling attack that dismantled the Bears yesterday for 258. Brett currently Nott's leading wicket taker for the season. That'll be the second time in 3 years. Many congratulations. Welcome up here. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah, nice to be up here.
Is it 2 years ago you were top wicket taker in the country?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, last year we'll forget about and then go back to that one. Yeah. 1
or 2 niggles, wasn't there, last year? 70 for 2. There's Bamba in and defended by Hasib Hamid. This morning, up until 10 minutes or so ago, going along very nicely indeed. Then a little ripple 2 in 2. It can happen.
Yeah, like I say, they've bowled really well this morning. I think, half 10 starts. We had the same thing. The ball just does that little bit with a bit of moisture around. And to be fair to the lads, I think they did really well to get to 50 for none before, a couple of good balls.
Yes, Ethan Bamba in again from the pavilion end, the broad end. Hamid wanders down the track and pushes it into the offside. Mel Farrell to your right. I don't know if you two guys have met before. I'm sure Mel knows everybody. I tried introducing her to Kyle Verreynne. It turns out they've been bosom buddies for the last 10 years, but I don't know how much interaction you've had with Mel. I'm sure she's grabbed you for a word or two over the years. I just wonder what the dressing room's like this morning. Are people just going about as normal, or is there an extra tension that you can feel?
It's just a normal day, really. We're trying to take it that way if we can.
Hamid blocks the next one.
Went as usual, a bit of football. Hainsey was crap like normal, things like that. Lads are doing crosswords, drinking coffee, bit of darts. It's just another day where we go about our business and hopefully watch the boys rack up a big score.
That's the plan, isn't it? 70 for 2. Brett Hutton with us here on Trent Bridge Live, and 5 Sports Extra. 1 ball left in the over, and we can get some more thoughts from Brett on how yesterday went in particular. As Bamba bowls and cut away by Hamid, his protection out onto the offside, and for the 3rd over in a row he takes a single from the last ball of the over. Joe Clark not seeing the ball at the moment. 71 for 2. Popped him in yesterday. Brett and Mo go out there and do your business. You did the business right at the start, getting rid of Alex Davis, and then they made you work a little bit harder.
Yeah, the same sort of thing. I think we made as much use of the conditions as we can, that bit of moisture, but Warwickshire are a decent team. They batted well, they got through it and made it hard for us, and it was a slog of a day. There was always going to be a partnership somewhere, and we sort of then got rewarded with the second new ball.
Wondering for a time if Notts were going to take the second new ball, but we needn't have wondered for long, because after about 75 overs had been bowled, Mo Abbas was doing planks and stretching and bending and whatever. You joined in 2 or 3 overs later, so we knew it was, but that second new ball was crucial. Here's Mel to talk you through the next over, and I'm sure she's got a point or two to ask about.
I mean, it might turn me on first.
Yeah, we'll get you on.
I will just say that Brett and I met for the first time yesterday.
Okay.
After play, in fact. So that was the first time that we had met, just to have a little chat after a terrific day's play from Notts, as Gilchrist makes his way in. He's over the wicket to Hamid, full down the leg side, and he just whips that one away. Only had to get a tickle on it, and that's gone for 4. Another to his tally. It takes Hamid to 44 now, and Nottinghamshire 75 for 2. One of the things that we were talking about last night was just, I guess for you and our listeners, I'm sure, just to get a sense of what it means is you've been around the game for 15 years playing at this top level, and yeah, it's the first time that you've been in this position. Can you give us a sense of, does it mean more, do you think, than it might be for younger teammates who are here on the brink, as Gilchrist is in? And that one again just straying down the leg side, and it's played down to deep mid-wicket. They'll come through for a single, 76 for 2.
Yeah, I think it means a lot to everybody. Obviously the lads that have been around a bit longer, we've had to work harder to get to this position. Not that the younger lads haven't worked hard, but I think it'll show with the amount that the fans are enjoying it, the club, the family that is Trent Bridge. You know, the whole ground's buzzing. The stewards, when you turn up, are excited. Everybody's just happy that we've got this chance.
Gilchrist makes his way in, bowls to Clark, who shoulders arms, lets it go through.
You know, and it's one of those things that, like I say, you know, I was lucky enough to go on that sort of MCC tour the season after we won it in 2010, and like I say, it was probably a bit lost on me how big of an achievement that was coming out of the academy. But I don't think it is now, because you know, all the lads are in the second team boys, the academy boys. Everybody's, you know, feeling the buzz that's around the ground and the sort of team.
Gilchrist, he runs in, bowls, and that's a big shout as it got him on the pad. Might have been going down the leg side though with that angle. Umpire not interested.
Yeah, Fletch always said, you know, he was 21 when he won it. He was there at Old Trafford that day, and you know, great to get the experience and whatever. But as always said, he sort of rued the fact that it wasn't later on in his career to appreciate what it meant. Yeah,
like I say, I'm sure that he would have celebrated hard with the rest and enjoyed everything about it. But yeah, you know, it feels like it's a nice reward for a long sort of effort. And
the next ball's just defended up to mid-off.
And, you know, it feels like we're such a big club, and we do a lot of things, or we try and do a lot of things right by the fans, by the players, and by everything. And, you know, as players, we're always looking for higher honours, you know. People like Ducky that we're so happy for, that he's made it into the team and things like that. And, you know, Tongi now doing well for the test team, but for the whole family that is Trent Bridge, the championship is sort of the pinnacle still.
Gilchrist's next ball is played very late and delicately by Clark, who opens the face of the bat. It is pulled in, I think, out there on the boundary rope. A good bit of relay fielding, 2 players out there. And they've managed to haul that back in and prevent the boundary. And I can't quite see who that is over the other side. Did he actually slide into the fence?
Well, certainly the Hound Road faithful feel there was a little bit of rope movement, but the umpires are too far away. You've just got to take the fielder's word for it, haven't you?
Yeah, I think most of the time like that, it probably isn't 4, but it always looks close. And most of the lads, if there is a definite 4, they just get up and throw it back in. You know.
Yeah. Of course, you've got into this position after what happened last week. We had Kyle Verreynne up here this morning. He said outside Test cricket, that's the most intense game he's ever played in. Would you sort of echo that?
Yeah, it's the biggest stage that I can think of playing a 4-day game in by a long time. You know, it was just an unbelievable feeling.
Bamber, 8 overs, 1 for 20, comes in to bowl to Hamid. Looks a little cross with himself that he's pushed at that one and goes on his customary walk towards square leg. You know, just the fact that it was at the Oval, which is obviously, you know, one of the better grounds in the country. They had a decent number in the crowd. The crowd were up and about and getting involved at times, and it just made it feel special. You know, just a great game, wasn't it?
If we'd have lost the game and put the amount of effort in that we did, we'd have all walked away disappointed. But
next delivery to Hamid, who's on 45, inside edge onto the pad, surely. It's the LBW appeal that you will have heard on the FX microphone was turned down. I presume there was an inside edge there, 78 for 2.
Yeah, it was just one of those that, you know, there's not many 4-day games that are fought as closely as that the whole way through. You know, I remember we played Lancs here a few years ago where we won with 3 or 4 overs left in the day with no rain affecting it, and that was an unbelievable feeling as well, because it felt like a proper game and hard work. But just the atmosphere around last week was just next level.
Bamber into bowl and edged, and has that been caught? No, it's gone down at second slip. Was Vicky Shades, that's twice in this over that Hamid's been cross with himself. Is that Rob Yates, Mel at second slip? Yeah, and got his left hand to it. His strong hand, of course, is left-handed. Ethan Bamber a little unlucky. Hamid trying to drive through the covers and It just about carried, didn't it? Difficult one.
Yeah, very difficult. The pitch is quite slow, so they're stood really close. So you've not got much time to react or move. But we'll take every bit of help we can get.
Lead on 45. Bamber in again, and this time he guides it down into the ground. And Rob Yates is always the way, isn't it? This time he takes it nice and cleanly, but on the bounce. 78 for 2. Brett Hutton with us. We'll keep him too long because we know lunch isn't too far away.
Yeah.
He's trying to tick off these sessions and whatever. It may or may not happen today. It may come down to the fact that you're out there at 290 for 7.
He looks nervous.
I mean, obviously, we'd do it if we have to, but hopefully we do it with the main batters doing the job.
78 for 2. Next delivery sees me drive through the offside, and early concerns midway through the over all cast aside as he caresses this to the boundary boards. Team effort wherever Nottinghamshire finish, and it looks like there's going to be good news, but you've got to be led by somebody. Ask Kyle for his thoughts on playing under Haas. You've been under a few skippers. Chris Reed to begin with. Mull was the long-term skipper before Haas. What's this fella like?
Yeah, he's very good. He's just calm, and he loves the game and the team, which is, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's always 100% in it, which is always a big thing as well.
It's on 49. Ethan Bamber bowls. Let's just go through to the keeper.
And I think that's part of being a leader. Reedy was a very different style of leader, but very, very good player. Very sort of knew exactly what he wanted from the team and things like that, and just expected it. And Haas he's a bit like that. He gets so much work done and he does it all. So he just sort of trusts all the rest of the boys to do their job and to make sure they get their prep right. And I think that's one of the things that's put us in a good place. The coaches don't have to do too much for us anymore. We know what we want to do and get out of a session, and they're just there to sort of help us do it.
Gilchrist to start a new over. Bowls to Clark, a full ball that's just clipped to a diving mid-wicket, no run.
So if there's a big night of celebrations coming up at some point in the next 2 or 3 days, or get off home to watch the Ryder Cup, what's it going to be?
I think the Ryder Cup might be on in the background of whatever we're doing, but I don't think if any of us will be able to actually see it.
Because you love your golf, don't you?
Yeah, it's a nice something nice to do away from the game.
Yeah.
Are you in the paddle group? Because Kyle Verreynne has been telling us about playing paddle with the boys. Gilchrist is in, and that's played late into the ground behind point by Clark, no run. No,
I'm not in the paddle group, but if you've seen me moving about in the field, you've seen that paddle's not the sort of game that suits me.
In that case, I'm going to say that Mohammed Abbas is not in the paddle group either.
No, it's more the batters that like to play paddle, and the rest of us tend to play golf, provided it's obviously like this and not raining and cold. Well,
it's Gilchrist running in, bowls to Clark, just lets that one go outside the off stump. That last beautiful cover drive by Hamid, by the way, that's a 9th boundary that he's hit today out of his 49 runs, and that sort of sums up, I think, his patience, doesn't it? The fact that he's willing to play out all those dot balls and just keep out there, but then as soon as there's that ball to be put away, he does it.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, that's the strength of an opening batter, to be able to soak up the pressure when lads bowl well at you. And then I think it's a big thing about how he's moved his game over the last few years as well. When he attacks now, the ball goes for 4. He doesn't tap it, he hits it and he times it beautifully, and the ball just races away however big the boundaries are. And that's why he's had such a good year, that he's got that temperament that he's always had of scoring runs, and now he's just so clinical and punishing the bad ball.
Last ball was just punched a backward point, but Gilchrist is in again, and this one just driven but without great timing, just to an extra cover, shortish extra cover, no run.
You've got the likes of Josh Tong and Mo Abbas, Lyndon, who's had a great few weeks, hasn't he, as your current group, if you like, the bowling unit. I'm just wondering, all the players that you've seen come and go over the years.
As Gilchrist is in, and that one is angled back in and just awkwardly dealt with by Clark. It ends up trickling back towards the slips, but I think it was probably a case of height as much as anything. It finishes off the over from Gilchrist, and Knott's now 82 for 2 with Hamid on 49 and Clark on 4.
Because like you say, you've come full circle from coming into the side for the first time in that champion county game in 2011. There was the likes of Andre Adams here, Fletch was always here, and then Harry Gurney, Brody was a constant, and they've had endless overseas players. James Pattinson had 2 or 3 spells, didn't he? And had it got to a point when you went to Northants, you needed to go to Northants just to get a season or 2 of full cricket as New Over starts this one wide of the off stump, goes through to the keeper, and then by the time he came back, everybody knew Brett Hutton is now a seasoned pro, and you're always going to be part of the 4-man attack. Yeah,
it was just one of those things, like I say, that it was a tough decision to make at the time, but I needed to play more cricket, and obviously I 12th manned pretty much all the games in white ball that year. I was close to playing but couldn't get in, and we did the double because we were such a strong side.
Bamber bowls now, and again fiddling outside the off stump. Hamid goes through to the keeper, stays on 49.
So yeah, it was just that I had to move to, like I say, to get a bit more opportunity. And red ball wise, I was playing for us, and I was playing sort of half the games every year, or give or take, and sort of doing my job pretty well, but obviously not quite well enough to be on the sheet every week. And it was just the right time. Like I say, I needed that exposure of a bit more pressure of having to play full season.
Bamber to Hamid, can't get his 50th run, runs it to backward point, but then there's a misfield, and he will get his 50th run. And the Trent Bridge supporters have come along today, and Brett Hutton as well to my right gives him a warm round of applause. 111 minutes, 98 balls, 9 fours, and the captain doing what he does relentlessly week in, week out, more often than not. Real surprise a couple of weeks ago when he got a pair at New Road, didn't he? Thankfully, everybody else chimed in, but those days are few and far between.
Just when you did make that decision to go to Northants, at the time, were you nervous about not knowing where that could leave you? Did you always know that you wanted to come back here?
It was always an option. Sort of left on good terms with sort of Pete and with Mick. There was no bad blood about leaving. It wasn't a leave from that perspective. It was, they were pretty supporting in that they were quite happy for me to leave, just because if it furthered my career, and knowing that if it did work out in a way and I came back, that the doors would be sort of open if there was place in the squad for me. And career wise, it was that sort of time, and obviously it worked out that way for me, that 3 years and then came back. But I think it was more the fact that we just left in that sort of good place where they were wanting the best for me, and knew that it wasn't the best for me to just be here and not playing as much cricket as we needed me to be.
Outside edge of Hamid's bat there, it falls short of Sam Hain at first slip.
Did you feel like you came back as a different player as well, or as someone who had been able to gain things that perhaps you hadn't had when you left?
Yeah, I think it's just it put a different bit of pressure on me as a bowler in that Northants side than it did when I was here.
Next ball left alone, and it goes through to Davis.
So I sort of had to learn to be a bit more of a senior bowler pretty quickly. Like Dave said, when I was playing here, if you had Brody or you had Franksy at the start, you had Gurney, you had Fletch,
Adams, Pattinson, and
we had star-studded bowlers at the other end, so you were never expected to be the senior bowler or to lead the attack. It didn't mean that you didn't have good games or anything, but when I was at Northampton, there's a bit more of a, we had sort of me and Sando taking the new ball, and there was more of that pressure of that you two have to do the job, and then the other lads will chime in, and just learnt a few things from that, of just being able to stick in there for longer.
The start of a new over, and it's Gilchrist continuing from the Radcliffe Road end. He's in, bowls full, and it's driven up to mid-on by Clark. No run. And was that so? When you came back, did you come back with more confidence in your ability to be able to be a spearhead when you needed to?
Yeah, I think that is one of the big things, is that you sort of always have to believe that you can do the job if you're going to make it in sort of sport. But then...
And so the next ball's just played out to mid-wicket, no run.
There's an extra bit of confidence of playing a decent number of games and having some stats behind you and wickets and things to know that actually, you know, you can sort of feel like you might have fluked a couple of wickets here and there, and, you know, one good season or 10 games, you know, you can just hit a nice purple patch. But once you start, you know, getting into the 30, 40, 50 games, you kind of have to have, you know, they kind of have to be real. They can't just be made up stats at that point of just a couple of good games.
What was it, the COVID year, 20 or 21 you came back?
21, I think.
21, yeah.
Next ball's just defended into the offside. And I guess, though, the interesting thing, you've been talking about all the huge stars that have sort of been here in the past 10 years, but this is the team that has got to the point of winning a championship title. So I'm interested for you in what has made this group different, special, or this year different or special, as Gilchrist is in. It's left alone outside the off stump.
I think it's just everyone feels like they're at a good age now. We've got a lot of players that have played a decent amount of cricket, including the younger. You know, we've got Freddie and Farhan who've probably played the least amount of cricket, but then there's a lot of players around that have played a lot of cricket to sort of, and everybody's been around. We've had that sort of season in Div 1, see what it's about and see that it's a little bit trickier than Div 2.
As Gilchrist is in, bowls, it's a shorter ball. He tries to pull at Clark, but it ends up just squirting out behind point. No run.
And, you know, with Pete and Franksy and Boats and Shiny as coaches, sort of all the skills and things that we've been working on for the last few years, they're starting to, you know, settle in there, and just the confidence of all that. And I think one of the big things we've got as a team is, I think, that sort of team culture, environment, whatever you want to call it, we enjoy each other's company.
As Gilchrist bowls full, and it's whipped away through mid-wicket. There's protection out in the deep, but they will come back for 2 runs for Clark, and takes him to 7 and Notts to 86 for 2.
There's a saying in sport, isn't there, that, you know, we can't do it, we always want somebody else to step up. I can't remember a season before where Notts have had 9 different centurions and 7 different bowlers taking 5 wicket hauls, some of them multiple as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that, you know, we sort of keep track of partnerships, and, you know, for a long part of the season, like I say, at some point everybody that's played is on sort of the honours boards as such, in terms of wickets or runs, and that's, like I say, the fact that it's been a team effort. And you can just see that with the bowling this year as well. You know, we've had Tongi, who's been amazing. We had Ferg at the start of the year, who was amazing. Bassey's done a great job, but we haven't relied on one bowler.
No.
We've had, you know, we've been pretty lucky with injuries. Everyone stayed fit, and I think that shows with how well the wickets have been sort of distributed around that. And it's the same with the batting. Everybody's just stepped up when the time's come, and that's been one of the big things. Including
yourself, some good runs this year.
Yeah, for a change, it happens every now and again. I think that's the.
Got one over a spin, Taz Ali, then we'll let you go, Brett. Make sure you're there for your lunch. 86 for 2. The Bears, actually, they'll be sick of the sight of you, because I think 10 of your wickets so far this season have been against them. You and Fergus bowled them out at Edgbaston, didn't you? 5 apiece as Taz Ali bowls first ball. Is it a leggy?
Yeah,
coming out the back, leg spinner.
Leg spinner.
And Hamid defends his first ball. And for yesterday, obviously, so 10 of your wickets against Warwickshire.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like we owe them a little bit after the start of the year, just with how close we came to winning in what was a real rain-affected game.
There's the young spinner again. Hamid pushes us into the offside for a single, 87 for 2.
Yeah, but, you know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? The weather sort of saved them that game, and me and Ferg had a good day out, but we didn't quite get over the line. But then you flip it on its head to Yorkshire, where we thought it was going to rain, and we did get over the line just before, and, you know, it just evens itself out over the year.
Who got the ball then when you both took 5 apiece and marched off, just the 2 of you?
Ferg was sort of character that Ferg is, I let Ferg have it, and he was like, "Do we cut it in half? What do we do?" So I just said, "Just go pick a different ball out and shine it up," and then because he was one of those that likes to write on it as soon as it's sort of
to Clark down the leg side, pulled away for 4 by Joe Clark.
As soon as the game's finished and things, he's got his Sharpie there and he goes straight on it, and so I just said, "You keep it, mate, and just get a different one and write on it, because I'm not going to remember in a cricket ball. It's more just knowing that, writing down the achievement sort of thing." And
I didn't realise until last week that he left a gift of a properly logoed up Man of the Match award. That was a Fergus O'Neill thing, I'm told. I saw Josh Tong wearing it after the match had finished last week. Here's Ali in and bowls and Clark defends. Yeah, so it's sort of something that, like you say, that he's left us with, this sort of jacket for moment of the match. Not necessarily Man of the Match, but just what we feel was the biggest changer in the game, or the biggest thing. So Taz Ali bowls and defended. And who votes for that? The coaching staff, or all the players have a say? Or? I think the owner of the jacket gets a big say. Okay. Because obviously you get to present it. Presumably you've won it a time or two? Not this year. No, not since we've had it. But it's just one of those things that it's sort of, like we say, it's on moments, and like Tungy last week, the ability to change the game and get us over the line. That's such a big moment. But Lyndon and Liam were obviously within a shout because of that partnership, where at a time when we could have quite easily got bowled out for not very many, and the game would have been really, really, really twitchy. I'm pleased that a lot of people made reference to the fact that you got 70 odd not out in the match. It was in a relatively low scoring game. That was hugely important. Yeah, and it's more down to how well the other lads bat as well. It's a lot easier to bat when their bowlers have had to bowl 40 overs. How the openers do it when they're fresh, it baffles me. But
new over starts with Gilchrist. First ball down the leg side, and that is a terrific stop by Alex Davies, captain and wicket keeper, because that would have gone all the way to the boundary if he hadn't made a diving stop to prevent that ball going any further. Knots at 91 for 2. It's closing in. I think Dave Bracegirdle was getting Brett Hutton's autograph.
No, I was just about to thank Brett, but he says he's all right for another over or so.
Is that it? Passing notes in class. In comes Gilchrist. That's whipped away just in front of square leg. There's a fielder down at deep mid wicket, so they'll just get through for the one.
You've spent much of your professional career, of course, watching the action from the balcony at the far end. It's a bit different this year, isn't it, down at the Radcliffe Road end? Yeah, as I keep telling Mick, I quite like it over here, and he's not happy with, obviously, how much we've spent and that we're redoing it, and that I'm sure it will be amazing when it's finished, but, It's ironic that the year you can't use it, you win the title. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's Gilchrist in, bowls. That's clipped away down towards fine leg, where there is a fielder station. So just the one run again. Why do you like it over this side more?
I think it's just there's better viewing. The old dressing rooms, obviously, the history and all that's over there was fantastic. But the viewing sort of balcony is not great. You can't get enough players outside to watch. It's sort of quite cramped and uncomfortable. Whereas because of how much space we've got over here, you can watch more comfortably.
Interesting. It's Gilchrist in once more, and it goes for an expansive drive, Hamid, but the ball just ends up rolling out behind point.
But yeah, like I say, if we do manage to get over the line, I'd be interested to see how Mick goes with superstition when we.
Oh wow!
If there was enough people trying to say that we should stay over here, I'd like to see how that went down. But
oh, you're right, because people are pretty funny in cricket with superstitions, as Gilchrist bowls, and that's beaten the outside edge of Hamid forward as he pressed. Are you superstitious at all? You haven't got any that you've done this year, have you?
No, not. I wouldn't say superstitious. I think most of us just do the same thing repeatedly, but they're not. That's just practice or getting ready, or we've not got lucky socks or anything like that. I don't think going around, but
There's a few that like the pink socks, aren't there? Joe Clark and Josh Tom.
In comes Gilchrist.
Yeah.
Bowls as Hamid shoulders arms.
Yeah, I can't think of any that we've got that are quite as bad. Not like Samet, who he had his lucky pants and things, didn't he? And I don't think we've got any too bad like that. In terms of, I think everyone just has prep that they do every day, but nothing that has to be done. Otherwise, oh no, I've not done that, I'm going to get out or something. I think we're just.
Well, one of the things that you told me last night was that there was a very conscious effort this week before this game to do absolutely everything that you would normally do before a game, just to try and keep a little bit of a lid on everything.
Yeah, and any of you that are, when Dave watches play football in the morning, you'll see it's still the same. Haas is still missing it when he tries to kick it, and all the.
It's Taz Ali bowling to Joe Clark, nudges it back to the bowler.
And we'll do that every day this week. We'll play the little bit of football for a bit of a laugh, and the fielding and all that. Like I say, just to keep it at the same as it is, just because it is still a game of cricket to win.
Yeah, the fielding drills in the morning with Franksy and then shying at the stumps. It seems so repetitive, but it's paid off a time or two, hasn't it? As this is dropped on the leg side, there's been one or two run-outs. There's been the stumps hit no end of times this season.
Yeah, and it's for us as well. It's more of that sort of team thing. The amount of crap that gets thrown around in it and abuse that we throw at each other when misfields happen and things, because it's just it's more of a laugh as a team that gets us ready to play than a fielding drill.
Clark on 12. Taz Ali bowls his work to wide-ish mid-off. And it's 93 for 2. We're closing in on lunch. Thanks ever so much for coming up and saying hello. Many congratulations on, if it's not speaking out of turn, on everything you've achieved individually and obviously collectively this year. And I'm sure it means an awful lot to you, and it should. May or may not be the career highlight, because I know you've got several more years yet. I'm surprised I didn't have all the Hutton family on social media yesterday when I called you the 35-year-old, and then quickly backtracked and didn't and looked it up. I said, can't be 35, but I just thought it's 15 years since Notts last won it, and I thought Brett was about 19 or 20 when they went to Abu Dhabi, because that was a year after. But then I looked it up. You're still only 32. You're only a young lad.
Yeah.
And this is pushed into the offside, so there might be many more moments to come. I hope so, but many congratulations on what you've achieved this year.
Thank you. Yeah, and like I say, hopefully it just sets us up for a few years where we're able to contend.
Yeah, as a team south of the river, I think we're going to want the title back next year, but I think Notts have shown in big matches over the years that they've certainly been their equal. Beat them in the 2017 Lord's final. Mr. Hale's day beat them in the Blast final in 2020, and of course last week. That's huge.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of the day. May or may not see you out there with the bat. May or may not be a pivotal moment, but when you go again with the ball, go well, and we'll catch you at the end of the game and hopefully congratulate you with a medal around your neck. Thanks for popping up,
Cheers,
Brett.
Dave. No worries.
Brett Hutton with us on Trent Bridge Live, and having a wonderful season. One of the stalwarts of the Nottinghamshire team, as this is turned to mid-wicket, and there'll be a boundary there for Joe Clark as we move to within 1 over of lunch. 2 minutes, 99 for 2. I think you said it earlier, Mel. They're just lovely fellas, aren't they?
Well, it's been a revolving door of people in and out. Every time I've popped out to grab a coffee or have a comfort break, as they say, come in and there's someone else here, which is really good. It's great to see. Wonderful that they've been.
That is one of the advantages that we've had this summer of the players just being downstairs, because it's, and I understand what an ordeal it is to say, any chance of popping over from the pavilion, and I know it's not a 5-mile hike, but in the midst of a game when, by the time somebody's walked from the far side to here, 2 or 3 wickets could have gone down, and so we appreciate all the players giving of their time coming to see us. We're going to get a bit of Rob Yates. Mel, do you want to talk us through to the luncheon interval, which is moments away?
It is, yeah. Just another over of spin, but this time a bit of right arm off spin from Rob Yates. It's Hamid on strike now, as Yates is in over the wicket, short leg in, slip in, and he just gently defends that one out into the covers, no run. So just trying to get these extra couple of overs, see if one of their spinners can find a way to make a breakthrough. 2 wickets falling in the session. 99 runs so far. Sameen waits. Yates is in, and he goes for a little bit of an expansive drive, but only as far as mid-off. No run. It's been an entertaining session on and off the field with Kyle Verreynne and Brett Hutton up here. And some good cricket played down below us as well. As Yates drags his length back. That stayed low, and it's well dealt with. It's driven out in through the covers, and it brings up the 100 for Notts. 100 for 2 just before lunch.
Listen to the cheer, just for getting to 100.
Oh, they're winding up. They're winding up the Notts faithful here today at Trent Bridge. Each milestone will get a cheer that's ever so slightly louder than the last, I imagine. So it's Clark on strike now. It's tossed up by Yates this time and driven, and Yates does some fancy footwork to stop the run.
Effectively, they've done in this session what they need to repeat in the afternoon session and then again in the evening session, and all the Notts supporters will be happy.
Yeah, it's a slightly shorter one that does seem to skid on a bit again. It's a bit of a shout. A bit hard to tell from this angle, but I imagine it might have been outside the line.
You've got a lot of friends and what have you at Edgbaston. Put the case for Warwickshire, Mel, before we go to lunch.
Well, I think they've done a pretty good job in taking the couple of wickets and stemming the tide. They've made it hard for them, is what I will say. Warwickshire, they really have made it hard. As Yates in, whips to short mid-wicket, no run. And that will be the end of the morning session. So Notts finish on exactly 100 runs, but the 2 wickets falling for not Notts, and the Warwickshire faithful will be very happy to have seen those fall and hope that they'll be able to keep chipping away. Haseem Hameed walks out of here though, a half century, 54 runs, and he has been the backbone of this innings so far. Clark also out there on 17, and again I feel like we have a well-balanced game of cricket going on here outside of the wider picture, Dave, in that Warwickshire really want this win. They could finish as high as 3rd in the tournament. They were a bit disappointed yesterday, but it's been a good showing from their bowlers this morning.
Nicely summed up, Mel. Thanks very much. Enjoy your lunch. Notts 100 for 2. Clark and Hameed have put 43 on. Ben Slater's out for 22. Freddie McCann out for 1. Wickets to Booth and Bambo. Hope you've enjoyed the morning's coverage. Huge thanks, massive thanks to Kyle Verreynne and Brett Hutton for popping up to say hello. Thanks to Richard Wilford, as always. And thanks to you for listening in. We'll do it all again in about 40 minutes' time when the players return. In the meantime, listeners to 5 Sports Extra, time to hand back to Kevin Howells.
We are Virtue. We have over many years built a nationwide network of local dealerships with a choice of amazing cars from the world's leading manufacturers, all cared for by our highly skilled technicians. For customers who continue to praise us to friends and family alike. Because we are Virtue.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Trent Bridge in ample time for the afternoon session of this Rothesay County Championship Division 1 game between Nottinghamshire and Warwickshire. The Bears posted 258 yesterday after one session of their reply. Nottinghamshire at lunch 100 for 2 from 34 overs. Just slightly longer sessions today, of course. We need to make up a little bit of time for some of the overs lost yesterday. Wickets for Michael Booth, Ethan Bamber this morning, getting rid of Ben Slater and Freddie McCann. Welcome back. As I say, I'm Dave Bracegirdle from BBC Radio Nottingham. Kevin Howells is looking after things on 5 Sports Extra, and hopefully we'll periodically pop in and say hello. Will join me, as will from 5 BBC Sport, Melinda Farrell, and the voice of Warwickshire, or at least this week the voice of Warwickshire, Richard Wilford.
One of them.
Lunched well, fella?
I lunched sufficiently. It was an enhancement on breakfast. But look, I thought Warwickshire bowled pretty well this morning.
Yeah.
I thought Nathan Gilchrist in particular was unlucky to get nothing for the energy and effort that he put into his bowling. I think Ethan Bamber was close to getting more than 1 wicket. A couple of nicks from Hasib Hamid fell just short of Rob Yates at second slip. So Notts have had to work for their runs this morning, and I'm sure the Bears will continue to make them work for their runs this afternoon, with Ed Barnard starting the afternoon session. A little bit of cloud cover immediately overhead. It won't be there for long, but there's a little bit about, and it does make a difference this week, we found. But, again, Warwickshire's role this week, they want to poop the party a little bit. I mean, the party I think is going to happen come what may, because Notts have earned it over the course of the season. But also they're displaying their professional pride, and they're being fair to Surrey as well by giving everything. 2 slips in place now as Ethan Bamber begins the 35th over, the first after lunch, and Hasib Hamid, has often been the case for quite a few right-handed batters in this match, just quietly takes a pace down the wicket to change Barnard's angle and lets it go through outside off stump. There's, I suspect, a slightly increased crowd this afternoon as well, as Notts get closer. People are getting ready for the I was there moment.
The roar on reaching 100 just before lunch, the loudest we've heard in the match so far.
Barnard in once more. Forward defensively is Hamid, pushes out into the offside. It's almost as loud as the roar from Kyle Verreynne when Mel Farrell squeezed his hand. She's trying to garrot me now with her headphone lead.
Look, it's the sort of hard-hitting journalism that I'm renowned for.
Can I hold your hand?
I just wanted to see if you could feel the metal plates. Perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Well, look, he was receptive, which is good. Barnard in once more, left alone outside off stump. He was receptive to the line of questioning about whether he'd like to carry on playing here at Nottinghamshire, and that was a very positive answer, I think, that Notts members would have appreciated.
Good as gold. It's quite funny. I don't know if you were able to pick it up from next door, where Mel said, "Oh yeah, I can feel one," and he said, "No, that's the bone."
Yeah, that's don't know what he yelped. Vice-like grip. Oh dear. Barnard, slightly tighter line towards off stump there, played on the front foot once more by Hamid, out into the covers, picked up by Zen Malik. There's no run.
Yeah, I presume you were reading it, Mel, to ask him, or to go down that line of questioning. Was it a hockey injury? I think it was. I don't know if it was whacked on the hand with a hockey stick or what it was. Or
he broke it really badly when he was a 16-year-old.
Wicket keepers who play hockey, it seems to be a thing. I don't know why. As this is driven by Hamid for the first run of the afternoon session out towards the cover boundary fielder. Dan Mosley there for a single, 101 for 2. When you said, were you reading it, I thought, was she going, well, that's your lifeline. There. That's a nice long lifeline, that car.
Have you ever had your palm read?
No, I'm just amazed that you didn't berate me for the Australian accent.
I thought it was beneath me. It wasn't worthy of comment. I've been mistaken for a New Zealander so far, so this week, so
Although that's a positive, isn't it? As Barnard back of an eighth, guided down to third by Clark. Mosley is across, but they'll be able to come back for 2. Slight fumble as he tried to pick the ball up as well, but they would have made 2 anyway. Clark 19, Notts 103 for 2. That's like an American being called Canadian. You just wear it with pride.
As I said, I'm a child of the world. You know, I'm not a flag waving. You know,
you are itinerant.
I am. But no, and it was quite funny to me that Kyle said that he saw more of me in South Africa than he ever does in Australia.
So Dave's burning to read something out. Somebody sent a witty comment.
No, not at all, but a number
He's
of...
gesturing at me to call this next over from Michael Booth.
A number of lovely people have taken the trouble to get in touch during the luncheon interval, so the least I can do is give their contributions a little bit of a mention, which we'll do in a moment. But
well, this morning they all loved Kyle, which was nice.
We all love Kyle.
He is an immediate Housewife's favourite.
Yeah, we all love Kyle.
Booth returning for his second spell. His first was made up of 6 overs and yielded figures of 1 for 20.
He almost had to plead for his mum to get in touch, though, to say she was listening, didn't he?
Here's Booth bowling to Hamid, and that ball is just turned around the corner. It's no one fielding at square legs, so they come herring from all different directions and come through for a single. 104 for 2.
Just mention some of these. And Steve Crawley, how is it, Dave, that I can't bear to watch something that I can't take my eyes off? Only cricket does that to you. Sid says Joe Clark could start. He is due a few runs, hopefully today. Graham following avidly. Interesting to know thoughts from the team if Asiba Mead should go with the Lions squad. We talked about this earlier, didn't we? And sending people with experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Booth bowls, and that is nicely clipped away behind square leg, more firmly than the previous ball. And Clark gets a single. It's fielded out in the deep.
I can't think of many more consistent opening bats, if any, this season in the county championship. You know, maybe Dominic Sibley has a very good year, but Hasib Hamid has shown that whilst he might not score at the pace that Zach Crawley does, he certainly upped his pace. His runs per 100 balls is significantly higher now than it was early in his career. I mean, his England career was when he was a very, very young man.
Yeah.
Booth runs in, bowls, and that is defended not completely convincingly out towards the covers by Hamid.
Not surprisingly, I'm very firmly in the Haas corner, and there's another fellow who I don't think he's going to get called up, but Alex Lee's just can't stop churning out runs, can he? I think he's a tremendous county opener.
I think it's a really interesting one, because I know that there are people who think that Dom Sibley should be going out to Australia as well, as Booth is in and bowls, and that, well, he tries to go forward in defence. It's ended up going down to deep third, and they'll take a single.
I know Dom very well from his time at Warwickshire, and got on very well with him, and part of me would say I'd love to see it, but under the current management it wouldn't do him any good to be down there. I just don't see that it would benefit him. I think there's still time for him to have another opportunity for England, but I don't think during the McCullum-Stokes era.
No.
As Booth runs past the umpire, bowls, and Clark just clips a full ball right through mid-wicket. Great shot, and it's 4 more runs. Just timed it really well, over-pitched by Booth, and Clark made the most of it. Takes him on to 24, and it brings up the 50 partnership for Hamid and Clark. It's off 90 balls, and
see, look at that. Asiba Mead has outscored Joe Clark. Now, there's a year or two back, you'd never have thought that would have happened.
Clark still on strike as Booth is in. He pulls back his length slightly. It's let go outside the off stump, and that's the end of Booth's over. 110 for 2. Hamid on 57, Clark on 24. And what I will say, and I'm not saying this is my view, but it feels like from the current administration, you talk about, you know, the current era for Dom Sib. I think best suited for Australian conditions against fast bowling, but really fast bowling. And so you look at Zach Crawley as an example. He is seen, they've invested in him just for this tour.
Barnard in, bowls to Hamid. He gets it stuck between bat and pad, and it rolls into the popping crease. He has a look round, locates the ball and throws it. See, what I'm saying I'm a big supporter of Dominic Sibley. He's a terrific batter. But if you look at what happened to Dan Lawrence ends up playing some Test cricket in the last 12 months, asked to bat in a position that he doesn't normally bat, and asked to play in a very positive style. And then it damages his reputation. It puts him years behind in terms of any future England opportunities. As once more, Barnard is in, driven through point by Hasib Hamid. There'll be at least one. Mosley again fumbles as he tries to pick it up, but it won't cost them another run. 111 for 2. So I would be concerned that if one of the openers gets injured and Dom Sibley gets dropped in, he will find himself being asked to play in a way that isn't natural to him, and that then makes him vulnerable.
I think it's a really good point. And it's just that, so in a way, it probably is of benefit, because I certainly want to play a particular way.
Barnard sees Clark advancing down the wicket, drops it a bit shorter, clipped towards deep square leg. Another single, ticking over nicely, 112 for 2.
And I guess what the argument that they would use is that those kinds of batters are what England have built teams on in the past, and it hasn't worked for quite a long time. So they are going a different way. And it's going to be interesting, because there are a lot of batters who are going out there who don't have experience in Australia. Not much.
Hamid defends this next ball around middle and off, out into the offside.
But anyway, that is yet to come, and we will see. But at the moment, Hamid is doing a very, very fine job for his county, as he has all season. And he's a huge part of why they are in the position that they are in right now. On the brink, could get there today.
188 runs away from it. Barnard into Hamid, who drops it down into the offside to backward point, and there's no run. And I mean, Dave, we cannot also underestimate the significance of a young British Asian captain in charge of this Nottinghamshire team, leading them outstandingly. Tactically, he's been acute all year. When they were down after Durham, he and Peter Moores have picked them up.
Yep.
And his batting form has not suffered through that.
No.
What an achievement it's going to be when the moment comes. He comes forward and defends that into the offside, leading from the front again today. He's 58. Nottinghamshire 158 for 2. 112 for 2, beg pardon. And
you look at it too, and you think about what has happened to him, and you talk about the Ashes, and you know, he is a young player who could have been absolutely destroyed by that experience, and then, you know, what came after, and the years of rebuilding since, and the move from Lancashire to
it did set him back.
It did.
Yeah.
And it shows real fortitude from him. As we start a new over with Booth, first ball, just Clark gets into a little bit of a tangle, and the ball ends up rolling out into the leg side, and Booth goes and fields it himself.
Now Steve, another Steve, is a Notts fan, yet he wants some rain. A bit of a quandary, Dave. COVID apart, I've been present for every trophy from the 1989 Benson and Hedges onwards. I can't get to Trent Bridge till tomorrow. I want it wrapped up ASAP, but I also want to be there when it happens. So any chance of an hour of rain this afternoon, please? Thank you, Steve.
Doesn't look that great, I've got to tell you, Steve. Well, actually, the problem is it does look pretty great. All those clouds around as Booth is in, and that one is just chopped into the ground, into the leg side by Clark, and they scamper through for a quick single.
Another of our regulars, T, he's got his dream scenario. We're beautifully on course at lunch, Dave. I want our skipper to bring up his 150 and Nott's 300 in the last over of the day. Perfection. Thank you, T.
Obviously, Kyle Verreynne wouldn't agree with that.
No.
He wants to score the 300th run. And he was unequivocal about it.
It would be pretty funny, I've got to say. It would be very funny if he did. As Booth bowls, and that's defended out to the covers by Hamid. No run.
I don't think he'd be daunted by the prospect, certainly, if he goes out there with a bit of work to do later on. He went with us this morning. We had Kyle Verreynne. What did he do? He did over an hour, didn't he, in all? Said he'd stay with us until the first wicket went down, of course, which could have been, a couple of deliveries. I've got to go, folks. But thankfully, Hamid and Slater hung around, so he was with us for a very entertaining hour.
It's Booth. He's in. Bowls. Hamid lets that one go through to the keeper. Yeah, he was loving it, wasn't he? I thought he did a really good job, even not doing ball by ball. He was right on the money.
Spot on.
The thing is, Dave set the bar high. I mean, who's he going to bring in now? I mean,
it's open door. It's open door, Richard.
No, there's a code. They don't know it.
It's an open door. And then Kyle had to go, and Brett Hutton came and joined us. It was lovely to hear from Brett on his thoughts. A more senior player and what it meant to him.
Booth to Hamid, and half a shout. Don't think it was particularly convincing.
Booth had no interest himself there. But he does just bring a bit of extra fire. I think he and Gilchrist have bowled with good pace from this end today. Bamber and Barnard probing from the far end of the ground, pavilion end. But the Radcliffe Road end has seen that little bit of extra pace. And it was that bit of added bounce from Booth that took Slater out for 22, caught behind.
In comes Booth, and that's got on him quickly. There's Hamid, but it's gone very fine off the bat. It wasn't a bad delivery at all, but he just managed to I guess, open the face of his bat enough that the ball, when it pinged off it, just went straight down to the deep third boundary. Dealing in them, Hamid. He moves on to 62 and knots 117 for 2.
This is the 4th season in his career where he's passed 1,000 runs, and he needs another 30 or so to be his most plentiful season. He's up to about 1,200 runs. Needs another 30 or so he won't be far off 100. It'll be the best career of the best season of his career.
Barnard into Clark, who again is a good pace and a half outside his crease by the time he defends the ball back to the bowler. And again, from what I said earlier, with the responsibility of captaincy and how good he's been in that role, to be in a position to have your best ever season as well, that speaks very highly of him.
One thing I was thinking about, though, was Warwickshire early in the season. So we'll watch them a few times.
Barnard to Clark, cutting the ball as he advances down the wicket out towards the cover boundary field and 108.
Leicester, I'm near to help. The Labour Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, says he's completely
Sorry, apologies if you can hear what we can currently hear.
Yes, we've now got BBC Leicester's news in our ear. They will hopefully come for a Nottinghamshire cricket score in a couple of minutes.
Fair enough. As this ball back of a length, a quick single here by Hamid, and he's picked his fielder quite well. As Gilchrist hasn't been able to pick up the ball. They would have had a second, but Clark didn't realise he wasn't going to pick up the ball, and he's run another 15 yards, which would have made the second run extremely long.
In fact, forget that, because it's only about 20 to 2, isn't it? I wondered what that was in our ears, but hopefully it's gone.
Yeah, but I did think those early part of the season, I thought Warwickshire just didn't look like they would be up, sort of challenging the top teams towards the end of the season.
This one back of a length, left alone outside off stump, and there's no run.
But they've done well.
Yeah, I think they've made the best of what they've got. I think they've done well with the bat this year, and not necessarily with the usual people making runs. I mean, like Ed Barnard, incredibly consistent, and he's batted really well again this year. And the two overseas, Latham and Young, have chipped in. Alex Davis has made runs at times. A little bit feast or famine. This one just back of a length, defended into the offside by Clark. Bowling has been a bit of a mixed bag. I think if Michael Booth hadn't got injured in April, I think he would have had quite a significant season. Bowling well again today. But they lost him for 2.5, 3 months, which was hard. Ollie Hannon-Dolby's had an almost luckless season. He's bowled many, many good spells without taking wickets this year. So I think a top half finish is a pretty good achievement in Ian Westwood's first year as coach. Clark wanted to turn this towards the leg side, doesn't get it quite where he intended it, and there's no run.
And I guess that's my point. Think that they've actually done really well from sort of where they looked at the start of the year.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Where they are now is a very good position.
And that's after a winter with some upheaval, with a review of the cricketing situation that took longer than it should have done. You know, Mark Robinson ends up being relieved of his duties when the new season is not that far away. Ian Westwood finds himself inheriting the throne, and I think he's dealt with it exceptionally well. Alex Davis is a bright and inventive captain. Gives his all. He is absolutely shattered at the end of a 4-day game. Needs to hide away for a day or two each time. It hasn't been a bad year at all.
As Booth begins a new over, first ball turned into the leg side, and there's no run.
We heard Kyle Verreynne saying how tough it was to bat at 6 and keep wicket, but Alex Davis, I mean, that must be multiplied infinitely, opening the batting, wicket keeping and captaining.
And I think, you know, that this is why for a chunk of the season Kai Smith has kept wicket. But when all of the senior players are available, Kai Smith doesn't necessarily quite get in.
Booth is in, bowls, and Hamid just pushes that one into the covers. Enough of a gap for them to get through for the 1 run.
A wicketkeeper has to be an all-rounder of sorts these days, so Kyle, ideal, can bat 5, 6 and 7. Outstanding wicketkeeper. Alex Davis can open the batting and keep wicket. Kai Smith is getting there. I think, you know, he's certainly come on leaps and there is another word. I can't remember. That's the fella. He's come on leaps and bounds this year, and will continue to do so, I'm sure.
Booth to Clark, who he goes to defend that one, and the ball just flashes past the outside edge. Again, good bowling from Booth.
Some big scores in Division 2. Derbyshire now 607 for 5 at Canterbury. There was a double 100 for Lewis Rees, and Wayne Madsen out for 192, I think it was. And Middlesex 592 for 7 at Lords against Gloucestershire. Beg your pardon, 552 for 7, double 100 for Leos Deploy. Here's
Booth. Next ball's just punched straight into the covers by Clark. No run.
It's interesting, good surfaces to bat on clearly this week. When you get a flat track at Kent, it tends to be the flattest of flat tracks. So Derbyshire are making hay. Parkinson's bowled 35 overs without a maiden in that match. Well, the leg spinners don't bowl too many maidens, do they? But that's hard yards he's got through.
Booth over the wicket, and that is a glorious drive. Picked out the gap, an extra cover. And that's 24 for 2. So the runs in this second session, they are coming for Notts, and that 300 target is just about coming into view.
I think what stands out is something that Kyle Verreynne said earlier about patience. They talk about patience in the field, but today they haven't got overexcited. Steady accumulation today gets you the championship title.